Hey everyone, it's me, Estella. I hope you guys enjoy this video and find it helpful, and if you do, please leave a thumbs up. Okay, let's get into the video. I'm sorry, but Lakshmi Thiagarajan asks, I'm taking the AP Psychology exam in May and was wondering whether it would be enough to just go over the prep books to get a 5. Yes. There are a lot of details covered in my textbook that are not in these books. And that doesn't matter. Trust me. Just use the prep books. What's in your textbook pretty much has nothing to do with what's on the AP exam. Just focus on the prep books. They know what's going to be on the AP exam. So yeah. Okay. She also asks, could you give us some tips on time management for FRQ section of the test? Lots of practice. Time to practice. And watch the clock, like I said. Okay. Alright, and also, can you give some tips? Same thing. Okay. Natalia Cruz asks, how do you manage schoolwork on top of studying outside studying for AP exams? I'm not managing very well, but I'd say pretty much I try to prioritize, so I try to do the bare minimum I can for school to maintain my grades, and then I pretty much prioritize studying for AP exams. So I'll literally just do like the bare minimum just to stay afloat, and then after AP exams are over, I'm gonna make up all the extra assignments that I'm missing and turn them in and be done with that. But yeah. Serene asks, what Myers-Briggs personality type are you? I don't remember, honestly. I remember it was like a lady, and she was like very businessy or something. I think it was like J something. I'm not sure, honestly, and the Wi-Fi just died, so yeah, I'll let you guys know later. But it was like, if you guys know what I'm talking about, maybe you can respond, but it was like some kind of business lady, and she's like a leader, something like that. But yeah, there were like 2 similar ones. It was one of those 2. Okay, let's see. Victoria Guerrero asks, do you recommend the Barron's AP Psychology book? I never used it, so I can't recommend it because I've never used it. I used the Princeton Review and the 5 Steps to a 5, so yeah. Okay. Selena Perez asks, what did you get on your AP Lang essays? I don't know because they don't tell you what you got on your essays when you get your score, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. Are the FRQs and student responses on College Board? Yes, they are, but not all the FRQs and not all the student responses, just selected ones. But yeah, they're all on College Board. Rachel Torres asks, what are the easiest exams but hardest to prepare for, and vice versa? That's a tough one. I would say the easiest exams were probably APUSH and economics, but they were pretty hard to prepare for. Like, you had to know what you're doing pretty much. And easy to prepare for, I would say biology, and the exam was kind of hard. Kind of. It was just like more conceptual than I expected. But yeah. When did you start studying for your AP exams, and what are your favorite APs? I started studying in the beginning of April, and my favorite APs are economics and US history and US government. Yeah. So yeah. Emmy Piplup asks, taking AP World History, and do you think getting a 5 with the Princeton Review book and Barron's flashcards is possible? I'd say so. I don't know really much about the Barron's flashcards. I can say personally that I don't like the Princeton Review. I like the Barron's prep book, but that's just me. But I think you can honestly still get a 5 with them. So yeah. James Moriarty, interesting, asks, I'm going to be a freshman next year. I've got AP in everything except math. Wow, I feel like an underachiever right now. I want to know, how do I feel confident when I'm taking my exam? Well, preparing a little early, are we? No, I'm kidding. To feel confident, I honestly don't think you'll feel confident ever. You can't feel confident for AP exams because I think the only way you can feel confident is if you know you've tried as hard as you can and that you did everything you could to prepare. I think that's the only way, pretty much. But yeah. Raymond Zhao again asks, how do you battle time during the actual exam? Constantly check the clock and do tons of time practice beforehand so you get used, kind of like a sixth sense to how long of time you have. And what do you do before and during the test? Before, I usually review my cheat sheet and then eat a nice breakfast and have a coffee, pretty much. And during the exam, I pretty much try to blank my mind and just super focus. So, yeah. And yeah, it's really just up to practicing and getting faster at it. Luke May asks, can you please make a video on how to write a DBQ in 55 minutes? Probably. Yeah, I can do that. Melanie Rowe asks, how do you score a high writing score for the AP English language exam? I have already answered that question previously in this Q&A. So yeah. Okay. Christopher Ramos asks, in AP Human Geography, which was the hardest topic to learn? I would say probably like urbanization related stuff. I honestly don't remember. I took this class like 2 years ago. But I would say it was like all the urbanization. I remember there's some like weird graphs and stuff that I had to remember. Something with cities, but I thought that was kind of weird. But I had to remember that. But yeah, and then I think like religions was also hard because there were a lot of religions that we had to memorize. So yeah. Suruchi Kanwar asks, I'm taking the AP Push exam. Do you have any tips for me? I have an entire video with tips, so check that out. And I took the SAT subject test for US history, and if I did prepare for it, how did I prepare for it? I also have a video on that, so check that out. Nicholas Bain asks, for the English language and composition exam, how did you improve on the multiple choice part? I also answered that question. I pretty much just did. I also felt very unconfident about it like a month before, and then I just did tons of practice tests, and I watched some videos about analyzing multiple choice, and it really helped. Shiny Lau asks, have you taken AP Calculus BC, and if yes, what is the best way to prepare? I have taken it, and I'm preparing by just going over all the topics again in the Barron's book and from my teacher's notes in Corpus World, and then doing tons of practice questions. Q&A from Audrey E. When prepping for the APUSH exam, did you find it was more helpful to mainly review the material or to take a bunch of practices? I found it more helpful to review the material personally, but I think that it's really helpful to not just review like the material, but review FRQ responses. That's like the best way. Just read tons of FRQ responses because it kind of like incorporates a ton of different stuff together, if that makes sense. So it really helps actually act as a review too. Okay. And last one from YouTube, Jiajin Wang asks, can you give suggestions on how to write DBQ and free response essay on APUSH? I think I've already answered that, but yeah, I pretty much just recommend having like 5 main topics that you are an expert on before the AP exam, so that which you will most likely have, and choose 5 topics that you think will show up on the topics of the DBQs and free response questions. But yeah, so choose 5 topics, become an expert on them, and constantly review them, and then pretty much know them by heart the day before the AP exam. So you go into the AP exam, and if you have FRQs on those topics, you will literally crush them and get perfect scores. Okay, so we did all of the tube questions. Success. So on Instagram, AKL00 asks, with a lot of schoolwork and other projects, how do you find time to study for your AP classes? Like I said, I pretty much try to prioritize and try to do the bare minimum for school, and then if I'm literally like, I stopped volunteering right now. I've tried to like not pretty much do any other outside things that I can avoid doing, and pretty much every extra spare minute I have is going towards AP exam prep. But yeah. what are the best way? Lovely Vibes asks, what are the best ways to prepare for the AP Calculus AP exam? I'm taking the BC exam, but I think it's pretty much the same thing. I'm using the Barron's prep book, and I'm just going through the material and then doing practice tests. So, I am Justin Ortiz asks, what is a good way to manage studying for several AP exams? I think I've actually answered his question on YouTube, but I would just say try to make a schedule where you have a day dedicated pretty much for each one, or at least like 6 hours for each one, and then maybe a couple hours for another one if you want to kind of shake your brain up a little bit. And yeah, I just recommend doing that pretty much. I see Salvador asks, what is the best way to motivate yourself to study for the AP exam? I would say just imagine getting 5 and imagine how good that would feel, or 4, or whatever you're aiming for, and just kind of keep imagining that, and that will help motivate you, I think. Elia Claire asks, number 1 tip for APUSH exam, study the FRQs. Just read FRQ responses, seriously. Jocko122003 asks, which AP exam was easiest for me? I would say Psych, maybe? Or Gov, probably, yeah. Hijabi22 asks, how did you become motivated and work hard and become energized when the school year is about to finish? Fear, pretty much, of failure mixed with the really big desire to have nice summer with happiness when looking at AP exam scores and not being sad. So yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm skipping all the questions that are not AP exam related just because it's AP exam season. I will answer them in another Q&A after AP exam season is over. What should I do the night before taking an AP exam? Sleep. Pretty much, that's all I have to say. Iman All asks, how are you preparing for the AP Physics exam? Could you share some of your AP studying schedules with us? I will share my schedule with you this week, and I'm preparing for the AP Physics exam. I think I've explained that already, but by using the 5625, flipping physics videos, and the Princeton Review, and doing practice tests. Nessa Sedano asks, when do you start preparing? I usually start preparing early April, late March. How often do you study after you have started? Every single day, pretty much. Okay. Marshy the Kitten asks, how do you mentally prepare yourself before you take an AP exam? I try not to look at anything before I take an AP exam just because I want to be really focused, and I only read stuff related to the AP exam. And if you get too nervous, then just try to, if you need to, just meditate. Seriously, just sit down, close your eyes, and think, this is all going to be over today. Just try your hardest. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do, but yeah. Shan's Spams asks, did you take AP World History? I'm taking it now, and I'm going to take the AP exam in 2 weeks. If you did, how should I prepare? Well, I'm preparing right now, but just using the variants pretty much, but yeah. And I only focus on my prep books, not my notes from class. How do I study for AP exams usually? Well, I just uploaded 2 live streams, so you can watch that pretty much, but yeah. Study Lugo asks, what's the best way to begin test prepping? I would say start by skimming through your prep books and doing a couple practice tests, and then after that, my arm is so red, sun. Anyway, and then after that, I recommend going back through the prep book and going over problem areas. Shridharthi asks, how are you going to prepare for the Calc BC and Physics one? I've explained that previously in this video, so yeah. Jackie Wilton asks, what's your best method of remembering all your content? I usually do mind maps or visuals. I like to look at pictures related to a topic. I'll sometimes paste them onto my notes, and it really helps me remember stuff. Or I come up with a story, which I've explained previously in my video, but yeah. Echoing Wave asks, exactly how can you use the AP books to help you study? Pretty much pretend that the AP exam is based off of the prep book and just read it like it's a Bible or the AP exam. So yeah. And I just study pretty much by memorizing it. So yeah. Okay. Best prep books for AP Psych. I used How to Get a 5 and Princeton Review. That was from Drew Spam. Studious Haley. Ooh, I read your comment from YouTube, so hello from Instagram. But she asks, how do you study for your notes after you write them out and highlight? I just reread them, and I keep writing more stuff in the margins of stuff I don't remember. So pretty much by the end of it, my notes look like a huge mess of writing. So yeah. Maya Tipton asks, how do you use your AP prep books? Do I take notes on them, highlight the pages, etc.? Yes, I do, and you can actually see that in action by watching my live streams, but yeah. Hannah X. Lynn asks, how to prepare yourself for the AP exam if you have a busy schedule. I would just say, like I said, prioritize. Try to cut out anything extra that you can, any extracurriculars that you can postpone for later, any assignments you can postpone for later. Just try to postpone as much as possible, and then make a schedule where you have each day dedicated to one class. Safi Samra asks, how long hours a day do you recommend to study a prep book 1 month before the AP test? I usually study a prep book like maybe 6 hours a day for like 6-7 days. Often more hours than that, but kind of roughly, I'd say. Yeah. Beautiful Fandoms asks, which study methods help you learn the best when it comes to AP classes? I would say mind maps and outlines, pretty much. Yeah. And maybe like vocab flashcards, depending. I mean, I don't really use flashcards much, so I'd say outlining pretty much, but yeah. Last question. From Eric Luck, how to use prep books the right way? I would say that you should, I would say the way you use prep books the right way is you read through them, skim through them at least twice, detailed notes on them the third time if you can, and use the practice tests, and you're golden, pretty much. So yeah. Anyway, that's all the questions. My mouth is literally dying from talking. I've been talking, I can't believe this, I've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes, non-stop. Seriously. Okay, well, it was nice talking to you guys. I hope this video is helpful to you. I had to refilm it. So yeah, part 2 of the Q&A. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.